Sitz. I'm the daughter of these two.
My name is David Sitz, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Marilyn Sitz, and I'm happy to be here also.
I started participating in the bird count in the 90s, and it has been a joy to me each year. I assisted in acquiring permission from the landowners to access their land for the teams to bird, and took my boat and Brent on the bay tours. For those of y'all who are not aware of it, the Christmas bird count is a 15-mile circle in the Matagorda area that encompasses part of the Gulf of Mexico, East Matagorda Bay, West Matagorda Bay, and up to Highway 521. This portion of Matagorda County is one reason we are successful, in that it has habitat of a variety of things, namely saltwater, bays, rivers, ranch land, farmland, cropland, which gives us a definite advantage in being number one in North America many years.
How about you, Marilyn?
All right, well, I started with the Christmas bird count. I'm not sure what year, but I do remember going to the Nature Conservancy, and I believe it was on a Christmas bird count. And I believe I was riding with Julia Hill, and there was so much water on them that we could hardly find the roads. The water was just everywhere. And I believe that was a Christmas bird count. And also, I do remember Becca and I went with David and Brent on the boat. And I remember it was very cold. Do you remember that? It was very cold, so we, after that, we declined that invitation to go on the boat.
Dad was driving the boat, and we were supposed to meet Dr. Ortego. We went, launch the boat, go down the intracoastal, and we go to this little tributary that goes up into the little brush. I don't know, it was just completely covered with brush. And we pull in there and we turn around and we're waiting for Brent. I didn't know what we were doing. I thought had lost our minds. And Daddy said, shh. So we wait, and the sun is coming up, and we're hearing birds all around, and then all of a sudden you hear Brent coming out of the brush. He has been in the brush since before midnight, counting the birds by sound, and then all of a sudden he comes, crashing out of the brush, and he gets in the boat. He says, "Okay, let's go." And then we head out to East Bay, where he's counting birds, and he'll hold his hands up and count the number of birds, and I'm like, what? He has lost his mind. So he's got this method going on, and he's not writing anything down. He sees that bird and that bird and that bird, and they're all specific biological names and everything. And then at the bird count later on, he names all these birds we saw, and I'm like, I didn't see those birds. It was very interesting. But at that time, we had 2 or 3 boats out there that were counting in the bays and in the intracoastal and in the river. And it was a huge, highly orchestrated experience. Dad has these wonderful relationships with all these landowners and ranch managers and stuff, and they let us get into heavily wooded areas that normally are not accessible to regular birders.
Well, I worked for the Soil Conservation Service for many years in Matagorda County, and I was aware of the whole county and its ownership. I worked with landowners and land users, and because of that, I had met a lot of these people. Going back to your first question, though, you didn't ask why we are successful so many years, and one reason is because we have the habitat of the prairies and the forests and the rivers, the wetlands, the croplands, the bays, like I said earlier, and I knew the landowners that owned this habitat.
They are so happy to have us, most of them, you know. George Harrison is one, and Zia Miller is another that are happy to have us. The Douglas family, Eva Molina with the Pitchfork Ranch, and Eugene Welfel welcomes us. Everyone that is willing to sign. Ray Culver is happy to have us, and Von Gotten.
That's right,
Mr. Von Gotten. He's the old man from Houston.
1,000 acres of marsh.
Yes, he's very happy to have us. Brent asked me early on, and I don't know whether it was before or after 9/11, but I guess it was after 9/11, because after 9/11 we could no longer go to the South Texas Nuclear Project for dinner. They had been inviting us to come into their cafeteria, and they fed us a wonderful steak dinner at the countdown, and we had the countdown there, and it was just a wonderful facility. But after 9/11 we couldn't go there anymore. So they still birded there, but it was a select group of people that they couldn't just invite anyone in. So we acquired the Wadsworth Community Center, and they never charged us. Of course, we set it up and we cleaned it up when we left, but we used the Wadsworth Community Center, and we got barbecue catered in, and that was Becca's job, was to pick it up. And we had some wonderful help that set it up. Karen Kynard and Ruth Morgan were two.
Who paid for it?
And who? And the STP always paid for it, and they insisted on paying for it since they had, started out feeding us. But they paid for it, and it worked very well. One year I got Cajun food, and oh boy, I had an uproar because they had Cajun food everywhere else they went. They liked the barbecue. So that's what we've done for many years now, is barbecue. And I always got the money together for the t-shirts. And of course, at the beginning, we had to pay the $5 Audubon fee. We had to collect $5 for every birder and send that into Audubon. And then maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Audubon decided it wasn't worth collecting that anymore, so we don't have to collect that. And now our sponsors only pay basically for the t-shirts, because the meal and the t-shirts are our only expense. And that's what I do. That's what I've been doing.
It is a fundraiser, and Mom does a great job of raising funds, and the monies that we are not using for that birding experience go to the Nature Center, who sponsors the program.
We have a lot of sponsors. They've been putting up money for 25 years, some of them. Early on, I had a very select few people. I had Wells Fargo, and I had Bay City Abstract and Title. I had got real estate.
Betty Clark.
Well, Betty Clark was a lady from Midland that gave us $5,000 for many years.
Oxia.
But she was not early on.
Yeah.
Early on, we had, like I say, Lyndale and Oxia, LCRA, and they would each give $500. So we didn't need a lot of sponsors. And now our sponsors are giving lesser amounts, therefore we need more sponsors. So it's still working out. And without having to pay the $5 fee to Audubon, that makes a little bit of a difference too. Mm-hmm. So basically the sponsors only have to pay for the t-shirts. That's since STP pays for the food.
Another thing that makes it good is when we became more famous for our bird count. We're known pretty far away as being the Super Bowl of the bird count. And because of this, many people call us, and when they call in and they want to watch birds with us on the bird count, my wife will ask them, what birds do you especially prefer to watch? And if they say wading birds or perching birds or singing birds or migratory birds, she places them with teams that especially bird that habitat. So this way you have a team captain who goes to that area, and they are more comfortable, and it makes for better bird reports.
I believe it's been so successful because the birders want to come here. And they like the t-shirts. I've suggested we quit doing t-shirts and do caps. Brent says, no, we've got to do t-shirts. Everyone wants t-shirts. So we keep doing t-shirts. And they like the meal and they like the birding. I mean, we have good birding. And they want to be part of, like David says, the Super Bowl of birding. But the most success, the most species of birds for anywhere in the nation. Santa Barbara, California beats us sometime, and Corpus Christi beats us sometime. Only if they're very organized. And our secret is organization. Oh. Brent does a wonderful job.
And getting people to the habitat where the birds are.
Right. And it's our habitat, but it's also that the birders come. Without the birders, it doesn't matter how many birds there are, we're not going to get them on the count. Mm-hmm. We have to have the people that's seeing. Yeah. And I also got places for the birders to stay. For years we stayed at George Harrison's house down on River Road at Matagorda. That was the people that did the beach. And then after he sold that, then we stayed in Henrietta Krumholtz's house for many years. Of course, and she has moved to Dallas and has recently passed away. So now we don't have a place to stay. I like to have a place for the birders to come in and stay. But so.
Many people have made many friends because we meet and publicly count the birds at the bird count. And now we look forward each year to seeing Mary and Joe and Bill and Susie at the bird count, because everybody comes together and we not only hear the bird count, but we see all these friends.
People walk in the door and they're just tired, cold, tired. They walk in the door at the end of the day. Who's here? They look around. Sometimes they're carrying a six-pack of something. But one year I took a day off and went and met them at lunch at a restaurant in Matagorda, and they were just, I just don't know if we can do it anymore, because the wind was blowing like crazy. It was frigid outside, and so I was like, okay, I'll get the food there a little early and I'll get things set up so that y'all can come in a little early. And And I told Daddy what I was planning, and I heard Brent on the other end of the phone. Don't do that. Those people need to be birding. Get them out. Do not make it come. They need to be birding. So every year we're like, what time do you want to start? And I'll say one number, and Brent will say, okay, later than that.
He's almost always the last one in.
That's the last one in. So anyway, but that was one of the best years because they ended up having a fallout at the Cedars, and they saw tons of birds. So that was really exciting.
I started birding in 1993, and I started, Julia Hill and I went to the Harlingen Bird Festival. And on that trip, I got 103 species from my life list.
Wow.
I started my life list that day. And we stayed with David's cousin, and we had a wonderful time. Met Roger Torrey Peterson, and that was neat. I still go birding almost every Wednesday. We quit birding in June and July, but we start again in August and then bird until May. Every Wednesday we'll, if it's convenient, some Wednesdays we miss, but we go birding until 3 o'clock most of the time. And we'll get as many as 80 or 90 species, something like that. On a really good day we'll get close to 100, but it hasn't been as good lately. I mean, you could tell that the number of birds is down. When we first moved here, which was in the early 60s, we didn't have white-winged doves. I don't know when they moved in, but it's been in the last 15 years, I suppose, something like that. But we have them at our house all the time. We have mourning doves, white wings, Eurasian collared, and the Inca doves are at our house on a weekly basis. I don't see every one of those every day, but I put out corn and sunflower seed, and we have them all the time.
What are your favorite birds that you see during the bird count?
I see the chicken in the barbecue pan.
Becca doesn't go birding.
I do the organization of that part. I don't bird, but Mama does.
Well, I couldn't really say. The last few years we've seen so many wrens. It's just been really nice. And the eagles and the kites, we've seen those.
My favorite bird is the vulture. I can sit there and watch him soar against a 20-mile-an-hour wind and make headway without moving his wing. And if y'all will go out and watch that, you'll marvel at that. But one thing I've noticed is the black-bellied whistling duck, generally speaking, migrates up and down the coast, and in the last few years has quit that migration and have become permanent residents of our county. The caracara didn't come to Texas, to my knowledge, until the 50s, and now they are, I understand, way up in the northern states, but for sure all of Texas. And
two birds that I have missed this winter is the spotted sandpiper. We've had one or two at our place, and the snipe. I did not see a snipe at all winter, not one. And I did a fair amount of birding. I mean, I was not out there probably as much as I've been other years.